transition onto ice, and he did try something with this. Can you just tell about how that went down?
He did.
Because he had this period, and you can find videos on this from YouTube as well. If you Google Roger Snyder ice skating, you'll see some of his ice races. He had this technique.
Yeah, he tried this very unusual technique where in the straights he would skate without lifting his feet from the ice. And I'm not sure what he was trying to achieve with this, but it didn't work very well. It was slower than his regular technique.
Yeah.
And he was actually given a warning from the ISU because his times were so slow.
No, really? He
Yeah.
got a warning? What can they give him a warning for?
That's an interesting question. Apparently, if you go really, really slowly, they can give you a warning. Because
I'm happy I never got one.
At World Cups, you have to do a qualifying time to even be allowed to go.
Yeah.
And so I suppose if you go very, very slowly in a World Cup, it's like, come on, you're kind of spitting in the face of all these people who don't have the time.
And this doesn't look good on TV.
And it doesn't look good on TV.
Okay. But you got to give it to him in a way. Like, there's been innovation in sports when you've seen people do the high jump going backwards instead, or you've seen the shot put where they started to spin, or all these other weird things. Like, this could very well have ended up in a different way, or the track cycling with the aero bars and all this.
It might have become the cool new technique. I mean, having the 2 feet on the ground for a long time, traditionally, I was always told that ice skating is a one-legged sport, and the amount of time you spend with 2 feet on the ground should be as little as possible. I'm not even sure I believe that anymore.
Okay.
Because I feel that when you have 2 feet on the ground, it means that the load of your body weight on any one of those legs is a little bit less. Yeah. So there might be some...
Maybe for long distance.
Could be some... you can like rest a tiny bit.
Okay, interesting, yeah.
I also... A drill that I do with a lot of skaters is I get them to leave that leg on the ground for a long time at the end of the extension before picking it up. Yeah. But that's to stop them from kind of flicking out with their toes. Okay. It's to make sure that at the end of the push... Yeah. There's still quality in that push. The leg's still pointed in the right direction. Yeah. Okay. But keeping both feet on the ground the whole time, I don't... Yeah. He might have been trying to do some kind of double push thing as well.
I think that was the idea, because he was kind of rocking a bit from side to side, but it's just so hard to force the blade to do that kind of movement and get speed from it. You can make the movement, but it's really hard to push on it, I guess.
Yeah, from a theoretical perspective, it should be possible to make a meaningful double push, because in the corner, when you push with your left foot under you, you are getting push from
that's
that.
A push, yeah, exactly, and that's going under you. Yeah,
why can't you do this in the straight?
Yeah, but maybe it will never happen. Maybe it will happen, but it's just. It is a very different thing, and you mentioned earlier, the timing, that's the thing that inline skaters struggle with the most, because they have the timing from the under push. So I think maybe that was also a little bit why he had this idea of changing his pattern of movement, because he could. And I think maybe a lot of ice skaters growing up with a certain technique, it gets harder and harder when you get older to change that technique. How do you see it with transition from inline to ice? Like, is there a time when you're like, it would be really beneficial for inline skaters to get early on ice, learn the technique, or would you say it would be really beneficial for ice skaters early to do inline so they can do both movements? Or
yeah, so definitely, without question, you want to start as early as possible. Yeah. Motor learning, neuroplasticity, everything tells you that the earlier you start to learn a movement, the better you will learn it. Yeah. And this applies to almost everything that you use your brain for.
Yeah. I know the Danish House of Sports, or the Federation of Sports, they also say do as many sports as you can when you're younger. That's a recommendation. It's not like get specific very early, like do the general things and then get specific later on. So we talked briefly about physical form in the beginning and the similarities, because there are huge similarities when you look at the people. You can't see if it's an ice or inline skater if they don't have their blades or wheels under them. But let's say what the differences are. Like, are there any kind of trainings that ice skaters would do more? Because I know their training schedules are very different. I know there's like a lot more dry land in ice skating, a lot more cycling, let's say, and I think in inline skating there's maybe a bit more just inline skating, because you can inline skate longer sessions and all this. How do you see the differences in not just training but also in physical form as a result of this.
It's an interesting thing. I think a lot of the reason in ice skating you get all the dryland training and all the cycling is because traditionally ice skaters have always had to live with only having 3-4 months of actual skating, and the rest of the season's like, what do we do? So
let's figure out something to do.
Having not ice skating in your program has always been a very big part traditionally, and that's been very slow to change. Even though now we have artificial rinks which are open a very, very long time, and the season is much longer than it used to be. And of course with inline skating, you can inline skate pretty much all the time. You can go outside. You're not so limited facilities-wise. So naturally, inline skating is a much larger part of an inline skater's program. The other reason is the nature of the racing. Long track racing, these individual time trials, on any given weekend, you might not race more than 2 or 3 distances. Whereas inline skating, there's heats, there's finals, there's lots of different races, and on a weekend you can race like 15 times. That's pretty normal.
I know ice skaters who race maybe, let's say, 5 races in a season, and every race is maybe a 5K, so then it's like 7 minutes. That's 5 times 7 minutes, one season. And then I know like weekend races where you have heats and finals and another long heat and another long final, and you have maybe marathons. That's 1 hour. And it's the same in short track. They have even more races in weekends. There's like 16 races in a weekend. It's possible. So I mean, it's of course obvious that then you can put more hours in on the skating, but I think there's a limitation as well to long track when you do the trainings. I feel, at least for me, when I do an inline training, it's very easy to just say, okay, that's it, I'm cooked, I can get nothing more from this session, and it's maybe 1 hour 15 minutes and you're done. Like, why is that, do you think, from the physical aspects of things? And you can inline skate 2 hours, let's say. That's
a really good question, and I think this is something I've thought about a lot, and I don't think I have the definitive answer. Some of it has to do with the nature of the technique. Because with inline skates, when you push into the wheels, they give some energy back. And that means that you can skate at a much lower intensity.
Not as heavy on the legs.
Where it's not as heavy on the legs. Okay. Whereas in ice, like the minimum intensity that you have to skate at to just be skating with proper technique is still actually quite high. Because your blades, they don't give anything back.
And a lot of ice skaters, they would never skate like a long, slow training. I know like the Swiss national team led by Kalen Dobbin, who's also coming from inline low. They do these sessions where they skate like really long, like an hour or so. But I know that a lot of ice skaters would never ever do this, because you kind of have to skate at a certain speed, like you said, before the technique becomes like it would be in competition. But that's
it's very different kinds of racing, very different kinds of training. Like with long track, you're looking for these very, very, very high peaks. Whereas with inline, you got a
full race season.
You're trying to like hit these high intensities, but you have to be able to hit them often and many times a day, and so the peaks aren't quite as high. Having these long trainings on the ice can jeopardize your ability to really hit high peaks.
Do you think inline skaters coming into ice at a later age, let's say you go from inline to both inline and ice in teenage years and you go into your senior years, do you think it can be beneficial in the long run for the inline skaters when they do have to be like at their best? They can be in their full career in, let's say, like the late 20s or something, that they did have all these trainings where it's like they put in more hours in skating position or so, or do you think it would just be better if they started on ice earlier? Or I know that's a very hypothetical, hard question to answer, and it would vary a lot from individual to individual, but do you think there's something to gain from that background in inline and then go to ice, or do you think it's just good athletes transitioning?
I don't know. I feel and this is a good question, because we see a lot of inliners going to ice and doing well. You don't get people going the other way so much.
No, exactly.
And, I mean, part of that's motivation. I mean, people come from inline to ice because they want to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Why would you go from ice to inline?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Fun? What? What is this?
This is sport. This is not supposed to be fun.
It's not fun.
Yeah. I would like to just get a little bit back to you. So we're talking about the sport now, but just For you, real quick, here in the middle, we have a small block which is called the 10 quick questions to you. So I would love for you to just answer off like as quickly as you can.
First thing that comes to my head.
Exactly, yeah. And this is probably mainly meant for inline skaters. Just put your inline mentality in your head. Yeah, you're an inline skater now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you, what's your favorite track?
Geisingen.
What's your favorite race? Which is not a championship.
Gross-Gerau.
Criterium. What's your favorite sport, inline or long track? Oh, that was Inline. Okay. What was your favorite world championships you ever skated?
Venezuela,
2000.
The first. You never forget your first.
No, that's the thing. World championship, that is.
Yeah, that's of course.
What's your favorite distance?
The shortest one.
So now there's the 100 meter.
Yeah,
here you don't even have to skate. You can just run on your wheels. Isn't that amazing?
Standing 100 meters. I came into this sport too early.
Yeah. Track or road?
Road.
Favorite skater as a kid? Your idol as a kid?
My idol as a kid was Tony Muse.
Tony Muse?
Yep.
Oh, American legend who did downhill skating and everything as well, yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
Everything.
Like, yeah, all these world records and stuff. No, yeah. Great skater.
Yeah. Favorite country you ever raced in?
Italy, actually.
Italy?
Yeah.
Okay. Best memory you've had with skating? This can be a long one. This is the last one. This can be a long one. You can come up with a story if you need to think about it.
Best memory. Wow.
Either you're thinking now because there's a lot of good memories, or you don't have any.
No, there's a lot of really great memories, and a lot of them are good for different reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, okay, this is going to sound funny. One of my best memories was when I just moved to Denmark,
lovely country,
and I did DM. That's the Danish Championships on track in Ørsted.
Yeah.
When it was still there.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore.
It's an asphalt track.
Yeah, it's an asphalt bank track, and I was entered in the Masters division because, you know, I'm old, and I didn't realize this. And for future DMs, I got them to enter me in senior because it was a bit more fun for me that way.
Yeah.
But I was in the Masters.
Okay.
and we were, you know, I was in this club called VRK.
Yeah.
And later in the day, like it was the last race of the day, I think it was like the 15 or the 10K points elimination.
Yeah.
And
that's your race. That's your race, Daniel.
So yeah, if you haven't figured out by now, I'm a specialist sprinter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, 15K points elimination. Like even in the Masters,
you're not really a sprinter. You're more like a starter. Actually.
I wasn't. Start in first corner.
Okay.
Anything where I can move my legs really quick.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do we do? So a guy in my club who kind of runs everything, a guy named Suna.
Yeah.
He was racing like, let's try and get Suna to win.
Yeah.
And there were these people from other clubs and stuff. And
if you didn't know by now, this is a race with maybe maximum 10 people on a track where there's nobody else than parents. Just if you were thinking that this was World Championships, but this is a master race.
Danish Championships, Masters racing, and so we were looking at the competition and stuff, and Suna. I mean, he wasn't the best guy there. Maybe the third or fourth.
Yeah.
But we were like, okay, but if we work together as a team, I think we can pull this off.
Yeah.
And Suna wins by 1 point.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was so weird. That was intensely satisfying.
Yeah.
Because we had this plan, and we worked together as a team.
Yeah.
And we executed the plan, and it was really hard, and in the end we just won.
Yeah. So here it is for all the senior skaters out there who's like, I'm never gonna be a master skater. If you want to have
masters racing is so exciting.
Master racing is exciting. I think especially in Denmark we have quite a good master scene. We do have a lot of quite serious master skaters, and it's funny to see what they get from the races, because it's very different when people show up to a master race, what they're there for. Some are there just to skate, some are there to win, some are there to just I don't know, have fun. It's different things. Yeah.
Some of them really do take it a little bit too seriously.
Yeah, let's
seniors,
leave it at that. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, like the senior age category is fun because it's fast, but a lot of the time, especially at the smaller races, it's quite predictable.